I have a confession to make. I haven't read the book, but I have watched the film. Hi y'all, I'm Amber and I am doing the district's book tag. So I was tagged by Shelf Life Extensions. I'll put a link down below to her channel. You should check her out. And I also put a link down to the creator. So the district's book tag deals with the 12 districts in the Hunger Games. And I haven't read the Hunger Games, so I don't know anything really about the districts. But the questions don't really need to be connected to that book or the series. So I'm thankful for that. And let's just get straight into it with the first district, which is luxury. Pick a book with a lot of opulence. I had a pretty hard time with this because I don't really have a lot of books that deal with characters who are rich or characters who are involved in a rich, wealthy environment. So it was quite hard, but I finally chose The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. The main protagonist marries a guy who's very rich to save her father's business, I believe. It's been a while since I've read it, so I'm not exactly sure, but I do know she marries somebody very rich.
And this is because I'm going to get to getting that exuberant.
The second district is masonry/weaponry. Pick a book that has a great war or conflict. I had to absolutely choose Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. This is the third book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. If you've read this one, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but it was amazing. This book was so action-packed and with a really great war and conflict going on that it's definitely, for the most part, everybody's favorite. The third district deals with technology, and this is to pick a book that has a technological twist. And I chose Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card because it deals with a lot of technology with the way that they practice their fighting and maneuvers. And I think even when he is in war, he's using a lot of technology and stuff like that. I am not very sure if I can count this as the answer for this question, but I do believe that I can. District 4 is fishing. You have to pick a book that is water-based. I don't have any book that deals with water playing a major role in the story or takes place on the water that I have read, but I have a book on my TBR pile that does, and that is Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brien. This is about Captain Aubrey, who is the captain of a man of war, and
he is, of course, on water, the ocean.
So it was quite the most apparent one I could choose. District 5, Electricity. Pick a book that was powerful, and I chose My Sister's Keeper by Judy Picoult. This was a very powerful and moving book to me. It made me cry with the ending, and the story itself is just so amazing. I also could have chosen the book Thief, the non-fiction Auschwitz. I could have also chosen so many other books. So there's a lot of books that I feel that are very powerful to me, but this one stands out to me because this one kind of changes the way I read books in a way. So it was just the one book that was kind of obvious for me to choose. I could have chosen Mouse because that was pretty powerful to me too. District 6 is Transportation, a book that takes place in more than one location, and I had to choose No Country for Old Men by Cormac McCarthy because the protagonist of this book is always on the move. Several of these characters are on the move, one chasing, one running, and you're seeing them going from one place to the next. And I don't know if you can consider it many locations because there's really no setting for the book, except that taking place in partly in Mexico and partly in Texas or in that area, one of those areas. So I guess you could consider it that way also. District 7, Lumber. Pick a book with manual labor. I chose The Color Purple by Alice Walker because Celie basically becomes a slave to her husband, doing everything and anything he asks her to because he's kind of lazy and she does all the work. And other than, of course, the field work, he does that, but she kind of just does everything else, basically taking care of his children, which aren't even hers, and cleaning the house that was a wreck. And it's just her just always continually having to do things for him. And so I had to choose it because it was the one that seemed to fit into it the most. District 8, Textiles. Pick a book with amazing clothing. I don't really pay attention to the clothing aspect of the book, unless it plays a vital part. Like in Mistborn, the cloak plays a vital part in how they move through the night and stuff like that, and I think those clothes are pretty cool. But I don't have a book where I can specifically say, like, oh, the clothes are amazing and I wish I could be able to wear them, kind of thing. There's never been one, so I can't really give you an answer for that one. So let's move on to District 9, Grain. Pick a book where food is hard to come by, and I chose Fever 1793 by Laurie Halse Anderson. In this book, yellow fever is rampaging through the city, and as it continues, food is very much hard for them to find and get because the prices are raising and people aren't coming to the city to, barter and stuff like that. So they have to basically scrounge for food. District 10 is Livestock, and this is one where you choose a book that has an animal in it. The only one I could think to choose is The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. The protagonist, the narrator of this book is the dog, and absolutely loved that. So it was a no-brainer to choose this one. District 11 is Agriculture. Pick a book where a character comes to a harsh reality, and I chose The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Evan Dantes comes to a harsh reality when his life comes crumbling down upon him when Evan Dantes ends up in the worst kind of prison in a jealous fit of his supposedly best friend, and everything that he thought he had or knew just kind of gets torn away from him. He had a good life, he was going to become a captain of his own ship, and then that happened. And I think this is like the perfect example of this because, he had everything going for him and then it was completely taken away. And I really absolutely loved this book. 12th and last district deals with mining. Pick a dark and sinister book, and I had to choose In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This is a true crime novel about two men who kill a whole family, and the whole story is just very dark and sinister-like. So those were all 12 districts and my answers. If you haven't done this take, consider yourself tagged now. I would love to see your answers for these questions. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep smiling.